Welcome to Limited Lives, the podcast where we review short games and give big opinions. Today we're talking about Robocop Rogue City. My name is Dennis, and I'm here to serve the public trust. That is my prime directive. I'm here with...
My name is Matt. That's my best Robocop impression.
And I'm Phil, and I'm just a filthy robot.
All right, you sure are. So yes, as I said, we're going to be talking about Robocop Rogue City. But first, I just wanted to check, since we're all getting up there in age, Robocop probably has some kind of special place in our childhood. So what is your relationship with the Robocop franchise, Matt?
Yeah, I think I'm a few years older than you guys. So the original Robocop came out in 1987, which means...
Did you say you're a few years older than us?
Oh, sorry. Did I say that?
Yeah.
So
I was like,
Let me redo that.
Okay.
I think, I'm a few years younger than you guys. And Robocop, the first one, came out in 1987. So I was only 1 year old when it came out. And so I think I was a little bit... I never really watched it as a kid. I think I was a little too young when it came out. And even, after it came out on VHS and stuff, I was still probably way too young. And I don't know, maybe none of my friends watched it, something like that. I guess it was just a different type of age and I never got to it. So I got to it when I was a little bit older. I don't really remember how old I was, but anyway, I didn't watch it when I was young. I did watch the first one when I got older, and it's great. I loved it. Great fucking movie. It's like a perfect movie, I would say. But I had never watched any of the sequels. But because we were playing this game, I decided to go back and rewatch the first one, also watch the second one, also watch the third one, and also watch the 2014 reboot, which was better than I expected it to be. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So
it's better than Robocop 3, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, they're different. They kind of do some strange. They make some weird decisions in the reboot. They make it very serious. Like they just there's no jokes. there's nothing silly about it whatsoever. When the first three.
That's
ones
kind of like part of the
silly.
charm of the RoboCop movies, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, because it is it's heavily kind of a parody of that.
So how about you, Phil? What's your
I did
past?
grow up. I honestly have vivid memories of watching RoboCop or The Fly as a kid, and back
The Fly too. Nice.
Yeah, back then, you don't even really think twice how violent it is when you look back at it now. But it's extremely violent, and I was just sitting in the living room watching it with my parents and everybody else. So I grew up on RoboCop.
We're definitely of that generation that got away with watching stuff.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of us got away with watching stuff that we should not have been watching.
There was one living room, one TV. So I was send the kids away or just let them watch it.
We had a TV, I shared a room with my brother and we had a TV in there. So
nice.
my parents never paid attention to what we were doing in there.
Nice. But the spicy channel.
So have you seen all the movies, Phil?
I have not seen
Showtime.
the 2014 one, but I've seen 1, 2, 3, and I watched one again probably a few years ago because it's just one of those movies that's nice to rewatch.
Yeah, the first one still holds up for sure.
Mm.
I'm kind of similar, but I have mixed memories on when I actually saw the proper R-rated version of the original movie, because we definitely had a VHS taped off of the TV version.
Did it have it was all the bloody scenes were kind of cut out?
Right. So it wasn't until later that I saw the extremely violent version.
Man, that must be way shorter without all the violent scenes.
I imagine, yeah, heavily edited because there's a lot of it.
Did it at least have the melting man at the end? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think that was there.
Oh, okay.
To some extent, at least. That was there. But definitely the murder of Alex Murphy was heavily cut short. Because, seeing that for the first time, I do remember that sticking in my head. This is brutal. But yeah, I've seen all three movies, and I had 1 and 2 growing up, and I liked 2 also when I was a kid. It doesn't hold up as well though. And 3 I could never get down with. That just kind of felt like Saturday morning cartoon version of RoboCop, which did have a cartoon. I think RoboCop did have some kind of cartoon version.
I know they had a
Definitely had a
comic.
lot of action figures.
They had a comic.
And there was I had the video game for NES. There was a RoboCop video game, which wasn't that great. And then I have watched some of the RoboCop like television series. I think it was called like Prime Directives.
Is that new or is that old?
It's old. Like came out in the early 90s. I think after RoboCop 3, the movie. And
I've never heard of that.
I hadn't heard of that
yeah,
either.
you can watch it for free on YouTube if you get curious. It's not the worst thing, but like it's a TV show from, network television. So it's definitely more in line with like RoboCop 3 in that it's like more PG. And
Is it Peter Weller's? Do you know?
no, it's I think it might be the same guy who was RoboCop
3?
in the 3rd movie.
Mm.
But yeah, no Peter Weller. I've seen the 2014 one, and
Weller.
I was kind of mixed. Like, meh, it didn't feel necessary, really.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
not.
yeah, huge fan of the original. Somewhat the second one, but yeah, that's my RoboCop background.
And supposedly, I don't know if this is actually happening, but Amazon said they're gonna make a TV series, a new one, a new Amazon Prime RoboCop series.
I heard that rumored. I have no idea what that would be, but I don't know. Cautiously optimistic though.
Bring RoboCop back if they do it well.
It's
If
a
they keep
weird.
I don't know.
It's
if
a
they can do
weird
it
thing
well.
where like, even though he's a guy whose face you never see, just his jaw, like, I feel like it's really important that Peter Weller,
right.
and he's old now, but like,
But he was in this game and he did great.
right? He really brings something to RoboCop that like, it just feels weird if anybody else is in the suit. And
I think it could be someone else in the suit, but I want it to be his voice.
Right,
I can ADR
yeah.
him in. Yeah.
Just chat GPT him.
yeah, I mean, I guess they could. Peter Weller he's got to be really up there by now. I'm
I
not
think he's
sure
in
how
his
old he is.
late 60s.
I mean,
He
if
looks
RoboCop came
worse
out in
than
80 Okay.
He does. No, he really does. Yeah.
Yeah,
I noticed that as well. He kind of looks
he
like
does
the
not
Crypt
look
Keeper.
healthy, but I think he still like goes to like comic conventions and stuff, and he's supposedly a pretty chill guy, and he likes his RoboCop fandom.
Right.
But yeah, all right, cool. Thanks for giving me your background on RoboCop and all of its goodness. Let's get into the game, RoboCop Rogue City. So this game came out in 2023. It's a first-person shooter game, and it was developed by Teon and published by Nacon. Teon is a Polish developer, although they do have an office here in Tokyo, I found out, which is
Weird.
interesting. I don't know why, but they do. And they have a ton of games, that Teon. They've been around since, I think, 2006, but the majority of the games that they've developed, I have never heard of. There's some games, a lot of games for PC. There's some games for the DS, Nintendo DS. But I think 99% of them I had never heard of. The only game I know of that they developed was the one before this, which is the Terminator game, Terminator Resistance, which is also a first-person shooter.
I was going to say, okay.
Which wasn't very well received, kind of mixed
Interesting.
reviews. I would say RoboCop is probably their most successful game to date and the one they've received the most attention for, but I guess they're kind of making a name for themselves if they've jumped from Terminator to RoboCop.
They're just going through the 80s movies, like remakes.
That or robot movies.
Robot Man movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they going to do next? Like the $1 Million Man?
$1 Million Man or a Mega Man adaptation. Yeah, this game came out in 2023. Terminator Resistance, that was 2019. This was a November 2nd. So yeah, this came out on November 2nd of 2023. All right, let's briefly sum up how we felt about this game. And we'll start with Matt.
Yeah. Robocop Rogue City. At its core, I felt this was a very fun game and a very faithful addition to the Robocop universe. And it's something that absolutely, I think, Robocop fans will eat up and enjoy. However, I do think it is slightly bogged down by some superfluous mechanics and a bit of a convoluted story. But like I said, overall, I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was great.
How about you, Phil?
Similarly, I think it is pretty faithful to like the spirit of RoboCop in the '80s. They kind of got that vibe down, and while I do think there's a fair bit of jank and clearly like double A-ness to it, I still felt like at the end of the day, I still wish I had more criminals to really gun down, because that was really therapeutic and fun to just gun people down indiscriminately because of RoboCop.
Yeah, I'm kind of agreed with both of you here. Despite like the game feeling a bit simple and kind of dated, I think like the passion and how much it adheres to the lore of the movies, especially the original movie, like was enough to make me enjoy my time with it. I think if you don't have any nostalgia for RoboCop, this game would not hold up though.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I think it really relies so heavily on bringing you back to that world. But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. But yeah, it is. You brought up double A, Phil, and like it's kind of a meme these days to say that like a game is a 7 out of 10 ass game, you know. Like, the 7 out of 10 well of games is like, hey, 7 out of 10 is still a good fun experience, but it's not perfect, but it's still a good time. And I feel like this game fills that perfectly. To me, which is kind of the, another thing with like a double A space as well, right? It's not perfect. It's not all the budget isn't there, but
you can feel it stretching the budget a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It works though.
Maybe we should also mention how long it took us to finish.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to finish, Matt?
Me, 13 and a half hours, I think. But I should note that by the end, I was kind of skipping through the side quests that were popping up because I wanted to get through it.
How about you, Phil?
It took me just under 17 hours to complete. I was playing on hard difficulty, so I don't know if you guys did.
Me too.
But okay. All right, damn. I was gonna say, that's why it took me those extra 4 hours to beat, because I was playing on hard.
It took me 20 hours, but I did like as much side content as possible. I was trying to max out my RoboCop stats.
Did you give?
You never go full Robo, man.
Never go full Robo. Did you give
I was
out
going
all the
full
parking
Alex
tickets?
Murphy. My tickets?
Parking tickets? Did you give out all the parking tickets?
I did all the parking tickets.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And we'll get into that in the gameplay. Let's get into gameplay, and Phil, can you lead us on that?
Sure. Yeah. So the gameplay is basically, it's kind of a light RPG first-person shooter, and the game's kind of divided to like two main parts. Like one part is that you kind of like have to go through the story. There's quite a significant amount of story, more than I expected, to be honest. So you go through the story and you interact with NPCs, and you kind of have like leads you need to follow, and you do investigations. You kind of have this kind of like, I don't want to say like the Witcher vision, but you kind of have to like scan stuff.
Sort of like Batman, Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, Arkham.
Yeah.
So it's like that. You got to go around and like check a bunch of stuff out, and that will lead or trigger an event, which usually leads to some criminals showing up. And that's the second part of the game, which is where you got to gun down a bunch of criminals indiscriminately. There's no like
endless waves.
There is no due process. You just gun them down. All of them.
Right.
and a lot
Much like
of
America
them.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like at some points wish it like went on for like 20 minutes. It's like more waves of like humans just showing up and just be blasting. Anyway, that's getting a side note. And so when you go, you finish that, and then you come back to what will usually be the police station, which is kind of your base of operations, and you interact with NPCs again, and some story stuff happens again, and you could do the light RPG element, which is like a leveling up and putting some skill points into your different skill trees. So that's kind of like in a nutshell, I think, most of the gameplay. Yeah, what do you guys think about it?
I like.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there is like, yeah, you mentioned the RPG elements. There's like a light like skill point perk system that gives you a few like moves that aren't 100% Robocop-ish, I feel like, but you know, they got to give you something, because you basically play this game like it's a boomer shooter where you're kind of like a mech instead of a guy. So you're not agile, but they give you a few extra things to kind of upgrade your guy with. But the auto 9mm Robocop's famous gun is very front and center here, and that even that has its own upgrade system, which is kind of interesting.
I like that, actually. I like
Yeah,
that they did that.
I thought that was a fun little like they give you these little like motherboards that you find throughout the levels, and you upgrade them with these different percentage chips, and then you place them at like different like circuit intervals throughout the motherboard, and it's almost like a mini game to try and maximize your motherboard so that you gain the most accuracy, or it can affect the spread of your gun or how powerful it is, or armor piercing. There's even some like bonuses where it'll make guys like it increases the gore, like
Right.
It just
And
like
this game is gory.
explode.
It's
Yeah.
very gory.
yeah, it is a very you can shoot off limbs in
Who's
this game.
cleaning
You
up
can-
this mess, man? Robocop comes in and just
Don't
leaves
even-
a mess of bodies.
Don't think
And-
about it. Don't even worry about
You
it.
know, I think about that stuff.
they're
Cleaning up the
criminals,
city.
you know.
Yeah.
They deserve to die, apparently.
Scum. We should also mention there is also the like kind of story dialogue options too that affect like I don't know if that's story or more the gameplay itself, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's there. There is like a dialogue tree to some extent.
That's what
and I
surprised
think
me the most. I was not expecting that from this game at all when I first got it.
And it does seem to affect some of the story. I mean, I only played it once, so I can't go back. But like for example, there's I think there's at least like two clear paths that I can see happening throughout the game that might affect the ending. But I don't know how much it changes up the gameplay. I doubt the levels change or anything like that.
Yeah,
It has an effect on like
different-
side. It has like you can affect what happens to side characters. Basically, I think it's one of the major things that can happen based on your choices.
So it's basically Heavy Rain 2.
with the guns.
I want to
And
step
robots.
like going back to the mechanics. You did mention like most of the bonuses, like the bonus abilities that they give you, are pretty weird. Like there's like a dash button or something like that. But there's one that I loved, which was, and this is from Robocop 2, which I thought was great, which was you can shoot like a panel on the wall, and it'll like bounce I think it's one of the, or is it one of the upgrades?
It's like a
Anyway,
ricochet.
Yeah, you
shot.
can bounce the gun off a panel and it'll like hit someone like in the back. That's like that happened in one scene at this very beginning of Robocop 2. It's like where the guy has like the baby. I think that's the scene where he has the baby. He's like, can't have that, and he like shoots the wall and it like bounces off and hits the dude.
Hey,
in the
it's
back.
part of the original lore, so it's up for game. It's fair game.
Yeah, that was great. I loved that mechanic. But yeah, the other ones are a bit strange.
Yeah, you need the skill tree specifically for. I didn't put any points in that skill tree at all, so I couldn't do that. But
Oh, dude,
I
that
don't
one
think
was
I got
fun.
that ability. No.
Oh, what? That one was the most fun.
Or maybe just the first rank of it.
Yeah, I think that's all you need to get it.
Yeah, I mean, like some of them are, yeah, like you said, there's a dash. There's a weird like shockwave electric field that you can
That
shoot
was
off
so
around you.
pointless. That was like, for me at least, I found that to be.
Yeah,
useless.
I got the
Most of it
first like node of that, and I never used it. The shield was super useful. There's a
yeah, I
shield
got
you
the
can
shield
like
is
a
really good.
Yeah, I used the
a
shield.
force field.
Mm.
Yeah.
Use that a lot, There's you can increase your armor as
The
well
slow
as
motion
like,
was the big one for me.
I also
All the
had
time.
I got the one where if you increase the armor enough, it ricochets bullets off of you into bad guys randomly.
I got that. Yeah,
So like
that was
that was
awesome.
a fun
Sometimes
one.
they would just die. I was like, oh, what happened? And I was like, oh, it's my ricochet. Like they're just killing themselves.
I did not
I want to know what kind of technology that is,
get that
but it was cool.
It always makes me
but yeah,
wonder, like, so I was gonna say, it always makes me wonder playing these type of games, or even like anything like this, a movie, a game, like who you see this person, RoboCop, Batman, Superman, just beat up like 100 people in front of you, and you're like, I'm gonna take them on.
Not
I'm
even
gonna
beat
be
them
the one.
up. It's like decimate them.
Yeah,
into
just completely annihilate.
dust.
You do have a punch
Yes,
that you can use, which is pretty fun.
Yes,
it is.
Punching guys, and you can also like grab guys and throw them.
Yeah, that's cool
which is
too.
and you can throw them into each other.
chairs. You can throw chairs and motorcycles. And
There's a lot of
computers.
things
There's
you
a
can
lot of
throw.
computers and chairs you can throw at people
Yeah,
and just decimate them with it.
dumpsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty fun to do as well. Like throw
I'll say, like,
motorcycles.
We haven't talked about the enemies yet, but there is like a progression of enemy difficulty. This was one of the things I had a kind of an issue with, was like for the beginning of the game, for like a very long time, all you fight are these like basically gang members who have no armor on or anything, and they all can die. Basically, all can die by one headshot. And that went on for a very long time. It took a very, very long time before they started introducing more difficult enemies. And I thought this game, oh shit, this game is like way too easy. But then they finally introduced new ones. So they have like armored dudes, they have like dudes on motorcycles, they have snipers, they have turrets, they have like super heavy armor dudes. All these different types of enemies eventually come out. But I think they should have done that a bit quicker.
Yeah, with the thugs, the only real changes are the weapons that they use. But they're all pretty squishy.
Yeah.
Well, that's
But
my other thing.
I feel like I was just gonna say, I feel like that's like they want you to kind of bask in the overpowered nature of RoboCop at the start, and like because RoboCop does walk into a room and just like decimate people in the movies. That's what he does, and they capture that. But of course, yeah, that's gonna get boring. I think when you hear like, oh, someone's making a RoboCop first person shooter, like when this game was announced, like I wondered like, how can it be good? Like because like especially with the way first person games are now, like he's not agile, he's not gonna hide behind cover, he's basically like a tank. Yeah, and like so you just walk in a room and like shoot guys, and like by today's standards, can that be fun? Like
hell yeah.
Apparently
It was.
but also, he's damn near invincible in the movies, like especially with riffraff thugs. So
yeah. I mean, it made
but
sense.
you definitely
You think he would have a
feeling.
taser though? You think a robot would have like a stun gun or like a taser to like not
That's modern day,
kill
man.
everybody.
They didn't have tasers in the 80s, or did they? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they probably had some kind of
I think they were just killing people back then.
gas. He could have used gas or something. I'm sure. I'm sure you
RoboCop
didn't have to
was
kill
lethal,
everybody.
man.
RoboCop. You didn't have to kill everybody.
Yes, he did. It was Reagan era, so.
And I really
criminals gotta go
also
down.
I did it on a mouse keyboard, but you can right click and like the kind of view, the robot view pops up, and it like targets, and it like highlights the enemies in a cool way that's like directly from the movie, which is also really, I like that a lot. I guess that's more vibe thing, but
Yeah, that's definitely like a cool visual aspect.
yeah,
I guess it does help you with targeting a bit.
yeah,
It helps you see enemies that you might not notice them as well, just looking normally. But anything else about gameplay, loop, or mechanics that
I really liked the shooting. I wasn't a big fan of the dialogue trees. I kind of wish it had just been cutscenes with people talking, and that was it. But instead you have to like sit there and ask, like, click this question, now click this question, now click this question, and then make one decision or something like that. But
Right.
that was one of the things that I thought was a bit superfluous. So I could have done without it.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know if it's vibe or gameplay, but like the people, the quest and stuff, like asking me to do all these random chores and like assignments. And do you know who I am? You know what I mean? Like, who would ask a RoboCop to go get your cat out of the tree?
That's the other thing. Like, there are really like simple police like beat cop tasks, like giving people parking tickets and stopping graffiti artists from vandalizing a building, and little things that it does seem beyond RoboCop, but at the same time, like they're pulling from the lore of the movies too. That kind of stuff did happen, especially in 2. There was in RoboCop 2 they reprogrammed him so that he wasn't violent anymore, and he just kind of went around like lecturing like people.
That little league team was robbing the store.
So I'll get into it. I'll continue.
I think they're. I didn't mind that kind of stuff. I thought it was funny. Like, it added like humor to, like, the dichotomy of having like an extremely violent cop who's just blowing thugs away, also giving out parking tickets. It was just funny to me.
It was funny. I think it was funny. I just thought they did it. There was a little bit too much of it. I wish it had. I think the pacing was a problem. Like, it felt like this is taking a long time and it's quite slow. And then you get like super high action, and then it's like really slow again for a while. So that was my issue with it.
You can imagine for me, who took 20 hours to complete this game, like it was slow for me. So
yeah.
There are one other thing that should be mentioned here maybe is that while there are like some traditional like kind of levels where you just kind of start out and go through a place and shoot bad guys, there's also a good amount of like semi-open world like hub levels where you're like, for example, you're in like a part of Detroit. It's just a couple of city blocks, and you can like move freely and interact with people and find quests, and talk to citizens. And so there is like a semi-open world element to this game.
Yeah, and you can skip like everything we just talked about. You can just completely ignore everything. I don't think most people would, but yeah, it's possible to.
You can, but they give you that evaluation at the end, and it makes you seem like a shitty cop.
Right. At the end of each level, you get graded and then awarded your like skill points based on that grade. And another thing that also can affect that is like how much like contraband you find throughout the stages.
How much
like
nuke you pick up.
Nuke, which is the drug from RoboCop 2, and then also like stolen money and wallets and purses and things that'll increase your score, so you can get more perk points.
I like that part of it. I liked having those little collectibles that you can find and give you a little bit of extra experience.
Right.
That was kind of nice.
You know what this game could have really had? I would have made it really cool. By the way, this side note, like the Nemesis system. I'm just throwing that in there. I think that would have been really cool if it had like a what's that game? Shadow of War?
Shadow of Mordor?
Yeah, like if you just had random, like some of the punks were like kind of like OP,
little
like
stronger
mini boss punks, and they come out like and they just like you gotta blow them.
I don't know how they would come back after I like severed their limbs.
I mean, they could just maybe they get robot
away.
Limbs. They get robot limbs or something. Yeah, I mean, there are things like that could have improved it. But I think they're probably way out of their scope for this game.
Yeah.
Budget they got, yeah.
I think their scope was a bit bigger than necessary.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this could have been a simpler game.
Yeah, if you were coming, I was expecting it to be just like a nonstop, just like gun, next room, like next level, like just
that's what I was thinking
on
too.
Rails,
Same.
gunning everybody.
I was thinking cutscene level, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of in between.
Why don't we get into the vibes? And Matt, can you lead us on that?
Yeah, so it's a high fidelity game. It was made on Unreal Engine 5, so good looking graphics, pretty realistic, with the caveat of like a lot of the humans don't look like, their faces at least are kind of dolly and kind of weird looking, a little bit uncanny. I think that's kind of a pretty, unless you put a lot of work into your faces, I think it's pretty common in these high fidelity games to have kind of those kind of like blank faces that kind of look robotic, sort of. But RoboCop himself looks fantastic. The environments look fantastic. Like they've obviously put a ton of care and love into like recreating the world, the universe of RoboCop. And you visit a bunch of the places from the movies, like we mentioned. The police station is a big one that you go to very often, and it's like a really faithful, really awesome adaptation of it where you can just walk around and explore it. You even get to go to like you can do the shooting range, which is heavily featured in the first movie. So yeah, it's really cool. And then there's other places like where Murphy was killed, where Alex Murphy was originally killed. You visit that spot. You visit the boardroom. Very, very cool things. So I really
there's
enjoyed.
even a flashback where you're in Alex Murphy's
yeah
house,
yeah
which
that's
is
right, yeah,
from the movie.
yeah, there's a flashback, and it has like the talking TV to sell the house in it.
Yeah.
But you're tripping, so it's like different. But yeah, really, really cool, faithful adaptation. They put a lot of love into it, so I was really, really excited for that. I think that was one of my most favorite things about this game, and the voice acting for they got Peter Weller back to do voice to do RoboCop, and he was fantastic. He delivered. I felt the writing for RoboCop and the voice acting for RoboCop was just phenomenal. Like I just don't think they could have done it any better. The other voices were fine and good. The writing was kind of boring for most of the other characters, I would say. I just liked it when RoboCop talked. I didn't really care for what everyone else was saying because they were all just like kind of bog standard and not really inspired or interesting. But yeah, good stuff.
I would say the majority of the like throwaway NPCs, aside from like the main people, weren't that great voice acting wise.
Yeah,
you could tell it was a lot of the same actors. I was going to talk about this because when you get
there's
first
like
punk show
like
up,
50% of the punks are like the same guy.
The punks are like all the same dude.
He sounds like he's from like the 60s or something. He's like, hey, like, what are you doing there, RoboCop? Like, not that bad, but like it was like did not match this punk guy with pink hair with a mohawk at all. It was like a complete. There was a few voices. Like there's a couple times there's like a pretty woman and it's like an old lady speaking, like completely different voices to the character. But I assume, like I said, it's probably like the same few actors they had for all these
but they
voices.
put it they did it well where it counted, which was RoboCop.
Right.
RoboCop.
That's where they put all the budget in, I think. But the others like NPCs and stuff and their character models and voices reminded me of like an older like a PS3 game or something.
Yes, definitely. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
sure.
There's a weird like like you said, the environments look so good. RoboCop looks so good. This is an Unreal 5 game. It's PS5, not PS4, and PC and Xbox, but it doesn't fully feel like a brand new game. It has elements that remind me of like
no, it doesn't feel
era.
like a next generation game.
Right.
Not really. Kind of feels like a previous generation game.
One last thing I wanted to bring up about the vibes though was the music and sound effects.
Yes, that's a very good point. Music
they have the RoboCop
great.
theme there, which is great. But the sound effects are really important in that first movie and really important in this game, and they're lifted right from there.
They ace it, dude. It's impressive how well they did the sound effects. Like just RoboCop walking around, you can hear his foot and his like legs moving and his foot stomping. And it doesn't and there's a little bit of difference every time that you step. It's not like the exact same sound every single time you step. It switches it up just to give it a little bit of variation. But it's really well done. Like very surprisingly well done.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
And the music was also really great. Like
they play the theme, the
it comes in at like perfect moments, and I love that part of it.
Cool. Let's talk about the story. I'll start us off here on the story elements. So, I mean, I don't think RoboCop has ever been very heavy on story in the films too much. It's kind of more about reading between the lines, the subtext, and everything. But this game, although it is directly related to the canon of the films, takes place after RoboCop 2 and before RoboCop 3. Initially, I thought the main reason for doing that was because they wanted to distance themselves from 3, because 3 is not well liked. But 3 is considered canon in the context of this game. There's a slight hint to it in the story.
Yeah, they reference it a little bit.
They do, yeah. So basically, it takes place after RoboCop 2, so you'll see like Nuke making an appearance, just like that was a main focus of the film. But it's kind of, it pulls elements in from both of those first two movies. A lot of repeated stuff happens, but it's essentially this new guy comes into town, new like criminal overlord, and his name, he goes by Wendell Antonowski, and I don't know if they fully address it. I don't know if you guys caught this in notes or anything like this. His last name is the same name as one of the main thugs that killed Alex Murphy in the
he's
original
supposed to be
movie.
the brother.
They talk
or
about
something.
that.
Yeah,
they talk about that.
But I
in the
didn't
game.
I didn't clock whether or not he really was the brother, or if that was just an alias that he was using.
It is the name. Well, I mean, that's one of the reveals at the end, that he's not actually that person.
Okay,
That's a spoiler,
I must have missed
though.
that.
Yeah,
But,
he's like, that's not even my real name. I just use that because it would get emotional response from you, that type of thing.
that whole kind of thing was weird, but we'll get more into that later. But so RoboCop starts out having, in the very first mission, he goes into there's like a hostage situation, and he has to go clear out the thugs. But he starts having like weird flashbacks to his human life, which is happened in the original movie, happened in the second movie. This is standard RoboCop stuff, like him wrestling with his existential crisis of, am I human? Am I a robot? Am I dead? But it's all that kind of is all a little bit off to the side. It's just a little bit of spice they add there. But because of that, his like slight delay and malfunctioning, they input a chip to grade him, and this is kind of an interesting way of doing it. Like that kind of relates directly to like the awards and skill point perk system that you have throughout the game is kind of related to this chip.
Yeah.
But they're using it to monitor him to make sure that he's acting the way he's meant to by OCP. And he's also seeing a psychiatrist who's interviewing him. And this is also one of the points where there's dialogue trees where you can like lean in more towards your human side or lean in more towards your robot side, and they kind of leave that up to you how you want to handle it. So yeah, this criminal overlord Wendell Antonowski, or supposedly Wendell Antonowski, comes in and see, there's a conspiracy where it seems like he's a criminal and he's uniting the gangs, but it starts to become apparent that he has some sort of connection to OCP, and OCP is always the kind of sort of big bad corporation behind the goings on of the films. If you remember in the movies, OCP like runs the police force. They're like a privatized police force. And they own RoboCop, technically. They built him. But yeah, you have Anne Lewis, who's your partner. She's always been in the movies, all three of the main movies. The actual same actress plays her in those movies, but I think it's a different voice here. I don't think they got the original actress to play her. She's your partner for a little while, but there is a mission where she gets taken out, and a new guy steps in, like a rookie cop that nobody likes because he was placed there by OCP, and the old traditional cops think he's a spy or a narc. He was cool. Yeah, it all kind of just they bring up a lot of like Ed 209 comes in, who was the enemy robot from the first game. They bring in Kane, who was the new version, the Robocop 2 of Robocop 2, who was created basically by using a criminal's brain
Right.
instead of a police officer's brain in a robot. So they bring out all these classic elements. There is one thing they introduce, which is there's a new kind of robot police force that are fully robotic without any human elements. They become part of the story later on. You end up fighting a bunch of those. I feel like those are more introduced just to give you something harder to kill than humans.
Right.
It's like a strange kind of red herring. It seems like that person is like the big bad for a while, and then it's just like, no, he's really not.
See, this is one of my issues with the story. Like, it's a bit convoluted, and it's like the pacing is all weird in my mind. Like, it takes you mentioned the new bad guy, like the new guy, but it takes a very, very long time for you to actually meet him. I think it's like several hours of gameplay before you actually meet him, and that's when that story kind of starts. Like, up until that point, you're fighting against these gangs, and each of their leaders. You like have to fight two different gang leader types of things, or capture them, or whatever. So it just takes a very long time to before the story like really gets going. It takes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't feel like the story has started until that point.
Exactly.
Like there's no like real narrative. It's more just RoboCop taking on gangs, and it's not really there's not much of a story other than the fact that he's being monitored and they're testing to see if
I guess that's setting up the whole. That's setting up the whole like, oh, perhaps he's a bit unstable while that's all happening, and this is the space for these automated police force to step in, and so it's kind of like the setup for that.
But
I guess is the
even then it takes I'm just saying I don't mind having that set up. It just it's a very long period of time. Like, it just takes a while. Like, they could have done it much more succinctly, I think. So that's what I would have preferred in this, especially in the story wise. It just makes it more confusing when you take this long to introduce and he doesn't even end up really being the main bad guy. It just gets more and more strange as you go along. I really just kind of stopped following the story after a while.
Yeah, I kind of went comatose near the end and was just
right.
Like, what?
Well, it's midway through the game. I started off being humane, so to speak, and then I just went full robot at some point because I was like, why? For a couple of reasons. First of all, I feel like RoboCop's like a slave, man. Is he getting paid still? He doesn't have a family. No. He's just like a slave now. So it's like they treat him like this, and everyone's trying to take advantage of him constantly, and he's just trying to do his job. It's just a mess. And
there's a bunch of side characters too, by the way, that you have to deal with.
Like the homeless guy Pickles.
Pickles, the reporter, the psychiatrist, the two mayor candidates.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, why do people keep asking RoboCop questions? RoboCop, you're so popular. Like, I'm a robot zombie dude, okay? Like, what do you want from me? I don't have a family. I don't care about people, really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the mayor thing is running throughout, and I feel like that's a pretty big part of the story, and I think that's a big part of the dialogue tree. Like, I guess there's an election coming up, and there's a guy who's running for re-election who's like an OCP mayor, like plant. I think he's
not the one re-elected. He's the one who hasn't been elected, right? He's the non-incumbent. I thought the OCP.
No, I forget his name. The guy who says he's advocating for RoboCop's like autonomy.
Yeah,
is the OCP guy.
He's the OCP guy, but he's not re-elected. He's the new guy. He has not been mayor. The other guy
he's the one who wanted to make like the new city, like RoboCop,
I thought it was the other way around.
Not RoboCity. He wanted to make like
he's the one that wanted to make Delta City. Yeah, that's another thing that's throughout is there's some kind of new development there where they're going to take the slums of this slum area of Detroit and like redevelop it into like this expensive new Delta City where they're going to like kick everybody out, all the poor people who live there, and replace it with like a new rich neighborhood, which you can throughout the game choose whether you side with that idea or not. And not that RoboCop is a politician or anything, but because he's so famous in the city, like the idea is that his opinion matters to the general public,
Right.
and can sway the elections or sway the political landscape.
You
Just
can also
because
choose to
people
not
think he's cool.
support either one, which is what I did.
Yeah, there is a neutral stance for most of those questions or dialogue trees.
I am
Robocop.
not a
I think
politician.
I ended up siding. The news reporter comes into this as well. You can choose to help this news reporter who's trying to uncover like the dirty
Right.
deeds of OCP, or you can choose to ignore her, or you can choose to like not like to work against her. But I chose to help her.
Me too.
I ended up becoming more like, I guess, kind of like the RoboCop 3 version of RoboCop, where he's like becoming rebellious and
Yeah.
going against OCP.
That's what I was
interesting.
too.
Yeah, because I said I
How
went
about you,
full
Phil?
robot. I went full robot, man. At some
What do you
point.
mean,
So
like
you were
full
like full
OCP?
corporate slave.
I was full like, hey, like someone's like, hey, like just give me a warning for like loitering outside here, and I'm like, no, you're getting a ticket, you're going to jail. Like, I'm not messing around. Like, the law, man. I'm RoboCop. Stop, stop. Who do you think I am? Stop messing around with me.
Right.
Right.
That's part of the small little like side missions where you can like give people tickets. You can choose to give them a warning, or you can choose to give them a citation. Most of the time I gave warnings, I think.
Yeah.
I-
I was definitely more human than robot.
I agreed with the Wendell, actually. He, at some point, I'm like, you know what? If this is the real world, he would be promoted, and like they would make all these robots. He would be like the Elon Musk.
You mean
essentially.
Max, right?
What's his name? I was like the dude.
So
with
there's
black
one other
guy
character
hair.
I didn't
black hair
mention,
guy.
Max Becker, who's like
Max Becker, yeah.
he's like the corporate OCP guy who's kind of running the police state force. Like he's like
he's
the corporate
basically right. I
head.
felt like at some, and then he even says like, what is RoboCop gonna do? He doesn't have a family. He doesn't have like friends. Like, what? And I was like, yeah, you're like,
has
he's
friends.
exactly right. Like,
has friends.
Most of the police
he's
force likes
got-
him.
I don't know. I like I said, I took the stance of like they're all really just taking advantage of RoboCop here. So
Yeah.
I guess RoboCop doesn't have a home, right? He just like at the end of the
Sits
day,
in a
I
chair.
assume he just
sits
goes
in
to
his
that
and
chair.
depowers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad, man. I was like, that. This
He
is
is
a
a robot.
sad life I have.
But he
here,
does
RoboCop.
eat
Does he?
in the movies. He
Oh,
eats.
right. In the first one, he eats. Right. They feed
Yeah.
him like that sludge or whatever.
And then Lewis feeds him baby food at one
Right.
point.
Right. Because they didn't
So
have.
he
it was
has
like the
some sort
replacement.
of working digestive system. I'm
is very
guessing.
bizarre.
Does he have like a butthole?
I was gonna say, like,
He's
does he
got
have a
to.
heart? Does he even have a heart
Does-
though? Like, can he
He's
die?
like the Tin Man.
I think his torso is intact and like his major organs are intact in there.
There's a lot of questions. I had more questions than answers at the end.
They make this much more. I mean, this is the reboot, but in the 2014 reboot, they make it very clear, like what part of
Right.
him is still a human. Where they really in the first three movies, they don't really do anything except imply that he has his original face and his brain, but they don't really talk about anything else.
And its face too. Like I always
yeah, right.
wondered,
It's like
like it's
taped
not
on,
it's
or
not his head.
stapled
His
on.
head is not.
It's like his skin is stapled
It
onto
looks
a
like they
robot.
stapled his face onto a metal frame. It's
Pretty
weird.
funny. Yeah,
But
face
I do
peels
remember and this seemed to be a clear distinction from the 2014 movie, like because in the first film they talk about, like, somebody says we might be able to save his left arm, and they're like the corporate guy, I forget his name, he's the guy that plays Albert in Twin Peaks.
yeah, I love him.
But he's like, nah, hack it off. Get rid of it. Like, they're
He's
just
great
like so
in that.
brutal. Like, get rid of his arm. We don't need that shit.
Oh man, I should.
But he has the arm in the 2014 reboot. They keep it.
Yeah,
So,
they keep his not even his arm though. It's just his hand.
His hand. Yeah.
Which is so weird.
Yeah.
Not even the arm is robotic. The hand is real. So weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But so there is like a little bit like tie-in near the end where they talk about how a Japanese corporation is going to buy out OCP, and
Yes, that's
that's where RoboCop 3 starts out with Japanese corporation buying OCP, and but the less said about that movie, the better. The movie sucks.
Yeah, I liked the exploration of our trying to explore or giving the choice to choose between being human, non-human, and having a baddie that's kind of related to that. But everything else just felt like kind of unnecessary noise, and I felt like it just could have been more focused to me.
Yeah,
It
it might
lost
have been.
I it lost my attention.
I think for me, it was just, I think it just overall could have been condensed and been a shorter game.
Yes, I completely agree.
I think it was a little too long, especially for me, because I did stupid side quests. But like, I think this. So this is the longest game, potentially longest game we've ever covered on this podcast, and I think this would have really been a nice 10-hour game.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think this game should have been shorter.
You get rid of all the chaff and just filter it down to the best elements, simplify the story a bit, and I think this is a problem with open world games in general for me especially, is that the story gets lost as you start doing side missions and side quests, and then you kind of forget what's going and it just becomes like background noise.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And a Robocop story should be pretty simple, you know?
Yes. Agreed.
But I do appreciate that they bring up that him wrestling with his humanity thing, but it's never the main part of the story. It's just like in the films, it's just a kind of, it's never resolved, you know, at the end of the movie, or at the end of the game or the movies, it's not like, I'm Alex Murphy, I remember everything. It's always like a little bit on the fence.
Yeah.
Which captures the essence of Robocop. So I like that. All right. So what was your best or worst moment from this game, Matt?
Yeah, there was a lot of great moments. Like walking into the boardroom for the first time, I was just like, oh, this is great. But that's not the moment I'm choosing for this. My moment is when they make a really, really fantastic reference to one of the best lines in the first movie. Can you guys guess what line I'm referring to from the first movie?
It was like one of those one-liners. Like, no,
Sorry?
It was probably like,
I'd buy that for $1.
No.
What it says it like at the end of the game, right? When he
Close to the end of the game.
When he
Close
fights
to the end of the game.
The not Max, yeah. When he fights
close to. I think it's close to that point. But anyway, so I'll just tell you the line I'm referring to in the first one. I forget the name of the actor, but it's the guy who plays Red in That 70s Show, the bad guy in the first movie.
I forget his name too, but yeah.
He goes in, the guy's doing coke with a bunch of girls, and he's like, "Bitches out," and then and then they would leave. That's just a great line. And then in
"Bitches leave" was the original line. Yeah.
Is it bitches? Oh, sorry, bitches leave is what he says. Yeah, bitches leave. And in this one, the dude, the guy who gets becomes promoted to temporary CEO, you're talking to him and he's just like, "Get the fuck out of here, Robocop. Bitches in." And then a bunch of girls come in and start dancing on the table and shit like that. That was
really random.
That was so great.
But it was such an awesome callback.
Yeah.
Because that line is famous from the original movie, "Bitches leave." It's kind of a meme.
Right.
But yeah,
bitches
they reversed it and have the bitches come in.
Yeah.
It also seemed really out of place. They
yeah, they're just dancing on the side of the table.
It was out of nowhere.
There's no music, I think.
Killed me.
It's pretty funny.
That happened. That was great.
Yeah, that's an awesome moment. Agreed. How about you, Phil?
I actually had a lot of crashes. I don't know if it was just me, but
I did too, dude. Yeah, I had a lot of crashes.
A fair amount of crashes. So that kind of and with that, it wasn't that clear when the save points. There's not a manual save, so it wasn't that clear when the save points were.
I had a gripe with that too. It didn't tell you when the last save was.
Sometimes lose a bit of time, like 10 or 15 minutes or something.
Yeah.
You'll have to go back. So that kind of takes me out of it. I think that's the 2 or 3 times I would just stop playing when it happened. It's like, ugh.
A game like this in 2025, there's no reason to have manual saves. Not have manual saves.
Not to have manual saves, yeah.
Or at least
it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
I had a couple of times where I had to replay an area or part of a mission again because of that.
Yeah.
And you kind of felt forced to finish a mission just in case, because you don't know.
Exactly. and you don't know where the autosave is happening or where it's going to happen. In a lot of games that don't have manual saves, only autosaves, the autosaves are very, very, very regular. So you don't really have to repeat a bunch. But this game, you don't really know. There's been several times where I came back to the game and I had
It
to
could have
replay,
at least
a
like
big
flashed
section.
up like it's saving now or something. I could not tell
Well-
like when exactly it would save.
Sometimes I feel like this has become more common in the last few years, is that if there is an autosave and you're about to like quit out, the game
It'll
will tell
tell
you
you.
it's been 1 minute
Right.
or it's been 10
Exactly.
minutes since your last save. And that
Right.
really is helpful to like,
Super, super helpful.
yeah,
That's what it needed.
yeah, that would have,
What I
Should've
ended
just
up
had manual
doing
saves, though.
is like I went to the, when I was, before I quit, I hit escape and check. You can click before you leave, you can hit load
check the
game and that
load.
will tell
Yes,
you
yes.
when, and those have a list of what time those saves were from. And if I could see, okay, that was just a minute ago. So that's okay to quit out, which is not something you should have to do, but it is
Yeah.
a way to do it.
I'm going to probably pick my favorite moment in this game. There were some like rough moments, maybe towards the end when I started getting bored with it. But I would say this is going to be stupid because it's kind of based off of that meme. But when I realized that you could shoot guys in the crotch and they react to it.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, there's that famous scene in the first movie where he shoots that woman through the dress and the thugs are attacking her and then he shoots that guy in the balls.
Yeah.
And he has
Great
a very
scene.
like visceral reaction, like, oh, you can shoot pretty much every
The balls, yeah.
human enemy in the balls
Wow.
in this game. And they like grab their nuts and like keel over.
There's
Oh,
an
man.
achievement for that. You didn't get that, Matt?
No,
I don't know, I
think
wonder.
so.
There's an achievement for it.
I was only trying to do headshots like for everyone, so that
I
I'm
started
sad.
the headshots and then I
I was
remembered
ball
that
shooting them, too.
moment.
Yeah,
and I was
ball
like, they
shooting
got to
them.
have that in here. It's got to be.
suffer.
So that was my moment. Shooting
Nice.
It was
subs
pretty
in
much
the
like a
dick.
headshot. I think it one shot killed a lot of them if you just shot them like directly
Yeah,
in the balls.
I think it
Yeah,
it was
nice.
basically the equivalent of a headshot,
yeah,
Nice.
ball shot.
which is a nice callback as well.
That's great. Yeah. Well done.
Did you kill the? What did you do at the end? I'm wondering. You have that option at the very end.
Oh, I
Your
saved
choices.
the robot, but it dies
Saved the
anyway.
I killed it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
killed
if you-
it too. I was like,
if
that
you
was
try to
satisfying.
If you try to save it, which I did, you like you start picking it up and then you save it and then something's gonna come fall on you and then the robot saves you and then it gets crushed and it dies.
Okay, all right.
Right. So this is in reference to the Kane robot with the OCP CEO, the old man, as they
Right.
call him,
Old
his
man.
brain inside. After you defeat it, you can decide whether or not you want to kill him. Throughout the game, they kind of make you think that you have this like friendly relationship
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah. They turned the tables on you on that one.
Yeah. They
Yeah, so
do.
I made him suffer, and that was very satisfying as well.
Yeah. Is this a limited lives game? And do you recommend it, Phil?
It's not. I mean, it's almost 20 hours, so it's hard to say it's a limited lives game. I do recommend it though. I think it's an enjoyable game. I suppose you could fly through it as fast as possible and try to do it, 13, 14 hours. But it's not as short as you want it to be, or as quick or light. But I do recommend it. It's a fun game that really does a good job of throwing back to the 80s and giving you the vibe of the Robocop.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I would say this is not a limited lives game, especially if you're someone who doesn't like to skip side content. If you're okay skipping side content, yeah, you could probably do this in 10 hours, maybe even less. But yeah, I think it's pretty rare that someone would want to skip all the side content. So I would say not a limited lives game, but I would recommend it in general. And I would say it's a must play if you're a Robocop fan, for sure. Like you should absolutely, if you like Robocop, you definitely should play this game.
Yeah, I agree. It's not really a limited lives game at all. Probably the least limited lives game we've ever played.
Agreed.
Even going back to the bite-sized game days. But I do recommend it. But especially if you're a Robocop fan. If you have no affinity for Robocop or the franchise in general, then you might fall off and might not enjoy the game. But you know, if you like being RoboCop and shooting bad guys in the balls, then this is the game for you.
I don't think I've ever met someone who at least has seen the movie RoboCop and doesn't like it, if that makes sense. Like, I think,
But I could see, like, you know, the younger generations
true,
not
too
being familiar with
violent.
RoboCop
too
and falling
violent,
off.
right? Yeah, they don't get it.
Calling girls bitches, you can't do that.
Yeah, so I think the people who play this game are probably, they're playing it for a reason. You know, nobody's just going to pick up RoboCop, I think, without some interest in RoboCop. However, this game goes on sale a lot now for quite cheap. I think you can pick it up for like $10, around $10, which is a steal, I would say, for what this is. All right. Thank you for listening. Our next game is going to be Enna Dream Barbecue. I have no idea what to expect from that, but I think Matt's already started a bit.
A little bit.
If anybody wants to reach out to us, you can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram at Limited Lives Cast and on X at Limited Lives Pod. Our YouTube is at Limited Lives TV, and you can email us at limitedlivescast@gmail.com. If you have game recommendations or you hate us and you want to tell us so, that's the place to do it. And remember, every gaming moment is a chance for greatness.